show today. I have my coffee, and we're here for Chapter 3. Welcome to the expansion of your brains. We'll make them bigger and stronger and capable of putting connections together that you didn't know before. This is my magic trick. Hope I kept you past 30 seconds. Here we go. And a reading aid. Pencil to help me keep it all organized. The New Propagandist. Chapter 3. Who are the men who, without realizing it, give us our ideas, tell us who to admire and whom to despise, what to believe about the ownership of public utilities, about the tariff, about the price of rubber, about the Doe's plan, about immigration, who tell us how our houses should be designed, what furniture we should put into them, what means we should serve at our table, or what menus we should serve at our table, what kinds of skirts must we wear, what sports should we indulge in, what plays should we see, what charities we should support, what pictures we should admire, what slang we should affect, and what jokes we should laugh at. If we set out to make a list of the men and women who, because of their position in public life, might fairly be called the modelers of public opinion, like celebrities, we could quickly arrive at an extended list of persons mentioned in the Who's Who. It would obviously include the President of the United States and the members of his cabinet, the senators, the representatives in Congress, the governors of the 48 states. 48? We had more than 48 states by the time he wrote this. We had Hawaii and Alaska as well. Presidents of the chambers of commerce in our 100 largest cities, the chairman of the boards of directors of our 100 or more largest industrial corporations, the president of many of the labor unions affiliated in the American Federation of Labor, the national president of each of the national professional and fraternal organizations, the president of each of the racial or language societies in the country, the 100 of leading newspapers and magazine editors, and the 50 most popular authors, the presidents of the 50 leading charitable organizations, the 20 leading theatrical and cinema producers, the 100 recognized leaders or fashion. Oh, that's supposed to be recognized leaders of fashion. Anyway, he's about to slog on. The most popular and influential clergymen in the 100 leading cities, the presidents of our colleges and universities, and the foremost members of their faculties, the most powerful financiers of Wall Street, and the most noted amateurs of sports, and so on. Let's not forget internet influencers. Commentary, social commentary. What kind of a pool do you find yourself in? Who do you listen to? Where do they get their opinions? Such a list would compromise several thousand persons, but it is well known that many of these leaders are themselves led, sometimes by persons whose names are known to few. Many a congressman, in framing his platform, follows the suggestions of a district boss, whom few persons outside of the political machines have ever heard of. Eloquent divines may have great influence in their communities, but often take their doctrines from a higher ecclesiastical authority. The presidents of chambers of commerce mold the thought of the local businessmen concerning public issues, but the opinions which they promulgate are usually derived from some national authority. A presidential candidate might be drafted in a response to an overwhelming popular demand, but it is well known that his name may be decided upon by a half a dozen of men sitting around a table in a motel room. In some instances, the power of invisible wire pullers is flagrant. The power of the invisible cabinet, which deliberated at the poker tables in certain little greenhouse in Washington, has become a national legend. There was a period in which the major policies of the national government were dictated by a single man, Mark Hanna. A Simmons may, for a few years, succeed in marshalling millions of men on a platform of intolerance and violence. Such persons typify the public mind in the type of ruler associated with the phrase invisible government. But we do not often stop to think that there are directors. Dang, this book is difficult. Okay. Dictators. But we do not often stop to think that there are dictators in other fields whose influence is just as divisive as that of the politicians I mentioned. As Irene Counsel can establish the fashion of short hair, which dominates 9/10 of the women who make any pretense of being fashionable, Paris fashion leaders set the model for the short skirt, for wearing Fashion leaders set the mode of the short skirt, for wearing which 20 years ago any woman would have simply been arrested and thrown into jail by the New York City police, and the entire women's clothing industry, capitalized at hundreds of millions of dollars, must be reorganized to conform this to their dictum. There are invisible rulers who control the destinies of millions. It is not generally realized to what extent the words and actions of our most influential public men are dictated by shrewd persons operating behind the scenes. Now, what is still more important, the extent to which our thoughts and habits are modified by authorities. Did that make sense to you? Now, what is still more important? Now, the extent to which our thoughts and habits are modified by authorities. In some departments of our daily life, in which we imagine ourselves free agents, we are ruled by dictators exercising great power. A man buying a suit of clothes imagines that he is choosing, according to his taste and his personality, the kind of garment which he prefers. In reality, he may be obeying the orders of an anonymous gentleman tailor in London. This personage is the silent partner in a modest tailoring establishment, which is patronized by gentlemen of fashion and princes of blood. He suggests to a British nobleman and others that blue cloth instead of gray, 2 buttons instead of 3, or sleeves a quarter of an inch narrower than last season. The distinguished customer approves of the idea. But how does this fact affect John Smith of Topeka? The gentleman tailor is under contract with a certain large American firm, which manufactures men's suits, to send them instantly to the designs of the suits chosen by the leaders of London fashion. Upon receiving the designs, the specifications as to color, weight, and texture, the firm immediately places an order with the cloth makers and for several $100,000 worth of cloth. The suits, made up according to the specifications, are then advertised as the latest fashion. The fashionable men in New York, Chicago, Boston, and Philadelphia wear them, and the Tobacco man, recognizing this leadership, does the same. Women are just as subject to the commands of invisible government as men. A silk manufacturer, seeking a new market for its product, suggested to a large manufacturer of shoes that women's shoes should be covered with silk to match their dresses. The idea was adopted and systematically propagandized. A popular actress was persuaded to wear the shoes. The fashion spread. The shoe firm was ready with a supply to meet. There's a couple typos in this book. The shoe firm was ready with the supply to meet the created demand. And the silk company was ready with the silk for more shoes. The man who injected this idea into the shoe industry was ruling. The man who injected this idea into the shoe industry was ruling women in one department of their social lives. Different men rule us in the various departments of our lives. There may be one power behind the throne in politics, another in the manipulation of the federal discount rate, and still another in the dictation of the next season's dances. If there were a national invisible cabinet ruling our destinies, thing which is not impossible to conceive of, it would work through certain group leaders on Tuesday for one purpose, and through an entirely different set on Wednesday for another. The idea of invisible government is relative. There may be a handful of men who control the educational methods of the great majority of our schools, yet, from another standpoint, every parent is a group leader with authority over his or her own children. This one's reading hard for me today. The invisible government tends to be concentrated in the hands of the few because of the expense of manipulating the social machinery which controls the opinions and habits of the masses. To advertise on a scale which will reach 50 million persons is expensive. To reach and persuade a group of leaders who dictate the public's thoughts and actions is likewise expensive. For this reason, there is an increasing tendency to concentrate the functions of propaganda in the hands of the propaganda specialist. This specialist is more and more assuming of the distinct place and function in our material life, or in our natural life. More and more assuming a direct place and function in our natural life. New activities call for new nomenclature. The propagandist who specializes in interpreting enterprises and ideas to the public, and in interpreting the public to promulators, those who pass it out, of the new enterprises and ideas. It has come to be known by the name of Public Relations Counsel. The profession of public relations has grown up because of the increasing complexity of modern life and the consequent necessity for making the certain actions of one part of the public understandable to the other sectors of the public. It is due, also, to the increasing dependence of organized power on all sorts of public opinion. Governments, whether they are monarchical, constitutional, democratic, or communist, depend on acquiescent public opinion for the success of their efforts, and, in fact, government is only by virtue of public acquiescence. Alright, let's try this sentence again. It's put me to sleep. How are you holding up? Governments of all kind depend on the acquiescence, that is just the willing obedience of public opinion, or the willing agreement of public opinion, for the success of their efforts. That means don't question them. And government is government only by the virtue of public acquiescence. Industries, public utilities, educational movements, indeed, all groups representing any concept or product, whether they are majority or minority ideas, succeed only because of approving public opinion. Excuse me. My body's attacking me. What a most unprofessional reading today. I am such an unprofessional. I should just quit. Oh, don't worry about it. You can see this far. You're not even watching the video. If you are, please leave a like. Please leave a subscribe. Please leave a critique. Please leave... Yeah, that's about it. Public opinion is the unacknowledged partner in all broad efforts. The Public Relations Counsel, then, is the agent who, working with modern media of communication and the group formations of society, brings an idea to the consciousness of the public. But he is a great deal more than that. He is concerned with courses of actions, doctrines, systems, and opinions, and the securing of public support for them. He is also concerned with tangible things, such as manufactured and raw products. He is concerned with public utilities, with large trade groups and associations representing entire industries. He functions primarily as an advisor to his client, very much as a lawyer does. A lawyer concentrates on the legal aspects of the client's business. A counsel on public relations concentrates on the public contacts of his clients. Of his client's business. Every phase of his client's ideas, products, or activities which may affect the public, or in which the public may have an intense interest, or in which the public may have an interest in part. You know what my mom used to tell me? Read the words that are there, not the words that your brain's throwing in there to confuse you, because that's exactly what's happening to me. I'm not reading the words on the paper. I'm reading words that "the" keeps throwing itself in there. A bunch of other words keep throwing themselves in there that aren't there. For instance, you know what? I'm pretty sure there's a psychological fallacy of some kind, or a brain blurb where our brains do that. It's one of those human error things that we can't really fix. It just happens. But we get practice by practicing. That's my advice today. Get practice reading by practicing. For instance, in the specific problems of the manufacturer, he examines the product, the markets, the way in which the public reacts to the product, the attitude of the employees to the public and towards the product, and the cooperation of the distribution agencies. Counsel on public relations, after he has examined all of these and other factors, endeavors to shape the actions of his clients so that they will gain the interest, the approval, and the acceptance of the public. The means by which the public is apprised of the actions of his client are as varied as the means of communication themselves, such as conversations, letters, the stage, the motion picture, the radio, the lecture platform, the magazine, the daily paper, the internet. The Counsel on Public Relations is not just an advertising man, but he advocates advertising where that is indicated. Very often he is called in by an advertising agency to supplement its work on behalf of the client. His work and that of the advertising agency do not conflict with or duplicate each other. His first efforts are, naturally, devoted to analyzing his client's problems and making sure that what he has to offer the public is something which the public accepts or can be brought to accept. It is failure to attempt to sell an idea or to prepare the ground for a product that is basically unsound. For example, an orphan asylum is worried that by a falling off of contributions and a puzzling attitude of indifference or hostility on the part of the public. I put a comma there that wasn't there. See what I did? For example, an orphan asylum is worried by I can't read these words. How difficult. We're going to stop this recording quick. For example, an orphan asylum is worried by a falling. For example, an orphan asylum is worried by a falling off in contributions and a puzzling attitude of indifference or hostility on the part of the public. The Counsel on Public Relations may discover upon analysis that the public, alive to modern sociological trends, subconsciously criticizes the institution because it is not organized on the new cottage plan. Whoever H is, I'm telling you, there's some typos in here. H will advise the modification of the client in this respect. Wow. Or a railroad may be urged to put on a fast track. Or a railroad may be urged to put on a fast train for the sake of the prestige which it will lend to the road's name, and hence to its stocks and bonds. You know what? I'm in a bad mood. My reading is not good today. We're going to pause here because nobody's understanding this. Right, whoever H is, H will advise the modification of the client in this respect, to tell them to make it a cottage plan. Or a railroad may be urged to put on. Not today.